Welcome to Spirit, Purpose, and Energy. I'm j.66, your host, and thank you for downloading today's episode. So I'm bringing back Allison Melody. Allison is the host of the Food Heals podcast and owner of Melody Productions. She's an eco-entrepreneur with a passion for films, fitness, and food. For the past 12 years, Allison has also directed and produced and edited documentary films, PSAs, commercials, and viral videos for clients on the topics of social justice, human rights, and holistic health. Allison is currently directing Food Heals, a documentary that follows several inspiring individuals who have used nutrition and alternative medicines to heal themselves of chronic, degenerative, and terminal disease. Allison's been on the show a couple of times, and she's a friend, and she's also presented at Releasing What Weighs You Down here in Los Angeles, January of 2018. She'll also be presenting again at Releasing What Weighs You Down next January, 2019. And part of Allison's story, she's not an expert in the field of, let's say, nutrition or fitness, or she might be an expert in film for all I know, but that's not what her passion is. And I wanted to bring Allison back because her story is that of pain. And she really demonstrates and is an example of how to turn your pain and how your pain can shape your purpose and your passion. And I know a lot of people out there find themselves having pain because of some kind of trauma or tragedy that happens in your life. And you always have a choice of whether or not, after you have gone through some of the healing of it, and if you choose to go through healing of it, to come out the other side feeling stronger and better and purposeful, or if that trauma or tragedy then defines you for the rest of your life. It's sort of the conversation of being a victim or a victor, and everything happens in perfect divine order, even when we don't like it, even when it changes us. And I think taking that bigger perspective is something we all can learn more and practice more to really utilize and leverage the life that's been created for us, the one that we've created, the one that I think we've chosen before we got here, that we don't know that we chose. We don't know that we chose all these tragedies, and they happen, and we're left with, well, what do I do with this? Why did this happen? And instead of being angry at God or angry at the universe or feeling like a victim, like this happened to you, you can absolutely honor the emotions and the feelings of that when things happen. But how long do you stay in that story? And I think Allison is a great example of someone who didn't want to stay in pain in that story longer than she needed to, and wanted to uncover a bigger passion and purpose, and shaping that pain into her new passion and purpose. So I hope she inspires you. I will remind you that it is April of 2018, and we still can save $100 off the Next Big Step, which is another event that I'm putting on, another mind, body, soul event that will also help you to do what we're talking about today. So you don't have to wait too much longer. If you want to get yourself into a space where you can deconstruct some of the things that have been stopping you from moving forward in your life and taking your pain and shaping it into your purpose and passion. Go to jjflazanes.com to learn more. There's an event tab. There's also the free manifestation challenge that's happening in May, and you have about 2 weeks to sign up for that. Again, that's at jjflazanes.com under free tools and resources if that's of interest to you. But either way, there are tools out there, whether it be from me or from Allison or from someone else, books that we're going to talk about at the end of the show that you can utilize to help you shape your pain into your purpose. Enjoy the show. Welcome back to the show, Allison.
Thanks, JJ. I'm so happy to be here with you.
So for those of you that don't know, Allie was part of the Releasing What Weighs You Down and did a very powerful practice about turning trauma into triumph. And of those of you that have been a fan of the Fit to Love podcast show, she did 2 episodes with us a couple of years ago. And the first one was about losing her parents to cancer and how to overcome that. And the second one we did about detoxing and juicing and greens and things like that, a juice detox. So I invite you to go back and listen to those if you haven't already. And obviously you can either stop this recording now and go do that so you feel like you've caught up and you're where we are, or you can go back and listen to this later. But I just want to make sure that you know that she's been here before. She's a dear friend of mine and of the show. I've been on her Food Heals podcast multiple times. And Allison's business has continued to grow, and she's continued to grow. And I just felt it was time to bring her back on and look at how she's grown as a person, how her business has grown since she started her show. Because we kind of started around a similar time. And I know we both learned so much, and so much has happened since we both started our shows and since the last time we had one of these on-air conversations with her here on one of my shows. So with that said, Allison, first of all, congratulations on everything that's going on for you.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. And right back at you. Your event in January was absolutely phenomenal. It was so many people had transformations in that room, including myself, and I was just so honored to be a part of it.
Well, you're going to be back in next January, right?
Oh,
You're
I can't wait.
Okay, great. So if anyone's interested in releasing What Weighed You Down, those tickets are available right now. For January, we do have a limited room, but Allison will be back. And a lot of people, just her process was so powerful. I'm going to say so many people valued and were in awe and in shock and felt a huge release after the process that she took people through. So it was great work. And I just really appreciated what you brought to the event and that you were there and to share your gifts, your talents, and your inspiration about things that have happened to you. So let's just catch people up for those of people who have not heard your show or you on my show before. Can you give them a brief synopsis about sort of the trauma that you've dealt with in your life before starting your show?
Absolutely. And, every trauma is an opportunity, and that's how I see it now. But at the time, I was not able to see trauma in that way. And so my story began back in the 2000s. In 2004, I lost my mother to a long battle with cancer. And at that time, we were in North Carolina. There wasn't like a big YouTube, or Google wasn't a big thing. We just had Western medicine doctors to tell us, there's nothing that we can do. She's going to lose her life, and this is terminal, and here's some a massive amount of medication, surgeries, chemotherapy, and radiation, which was to keep her alive longer, but it kept her alive miserably. And then she passed away in 2004, and it was a month before I graduated college. And that was the first trauma I had ever really experienced. And it just made me question, why were we able to fly to the moon, but people were dying of these debilitating chronic degenerative diseases? She also had multiple sclerosis. And why wasn't there an answer? And so I really started my journey there. And I started getting into nutrition and holistic health, and realizing that the body does have the innate ability to heal itself if given the tools that it needs to do so. So I was slowly making these discoveries that, you are what you eat. And I had to change my diet and get off the antidepressants I was on, because they weren't truly serving me. And I started to lecture my father, who was eating in the typical American diet, typical workaholic, just doing his thing, working really hard, having a drink at the end of each night. He was a smoker, so and then he was on every cholesterol lowering medication, everything that you go on once you're over 50 and the doctor just prescribes. And so I started saying, hey, this diet doesn't seem so great. I think you're on too many pills. Maybe you could cut down on the drinking and smoking so that you don't suffer the same fate. And he said, I am healthy. I don't want to hear this. And, it was just 2.5 years later, after my mom died, that my dad got diagnosed with cancer as well. And so I fought really, really hard to help him make changes that, again, he didn't want to make. And he passed away within 6 months of his diagnosis. And so by the time I was 25, I was pretty much an orphan, no brothers or sisters, and I had lost my family, and I didn't know where to go from there. And so that's when I really, really started on this journey of realizing that I had to take my health into my own hands, not only eat better and exercise, but also discover the tools for emotional healing that I didn't have at that time. And that's where my journey began, of healing myself, mind, body, and spirit.
And I applaud every action that you've taken and how you've been able to really triumph this. I can't even imagine. Part of me can imagine, but part of me doesn't want to imagine, right? I mean,
Of
just
course.
the
Don't
heartbreak.
imagine it.
Yeah, I don't want to imagine. I don't want to create that. So, my heart breaks when I hear that for you. And even though I know that everything is in divine perfect order and that there's a reason for everything, and I know that we are in agreement with that, because I think on the first show I was tentative to say anything. I thought, oh my God, I hope she doesn't hear that in a bad way. And you were like,
No.
because otherwise, I think it feels better to approach it that way, to think that you're not a victim to something, but that everything is in perfect divine order, even when we don't like it. And even when it
Sure.
feels uncomfortable. and that we all have a saying and a say in our life experience in this lifetime as we incarnate and go on our journey. And this is the path that has been laid out. And there are now greater reasons, not greater, but there are reasons that inspire you and that have changed you and have empowered you probably beyond any place you could have imagined before. Yes?
Absolutely, JJ, 100%. And not to gloss over it, but I could never understand the concepts you're talking about now back then. But it's been 11 years this month since my father passed away. And while I still have moments of sadness and depression and longing, I know that exactly as you said, there was a divine order to this. And I am the person I am today, dedicated. My mission is to help other people realize that a healing miracle is possible. There would be no fire or drive for that had I not experienced these tragedies. And so that's where I find my comfort, is that, okay, perhaps this was all divinely done so that I could be a person to help others. And that's all I want to do. And who would I be without these experiences? I have no idea.
We can't guess. We can just appreciate where you
Yeah,
are and what you're doing, right?
for
So
sure.
when you first started your show, and you started your show for the reasons that I started my show,
Yeah.
we both had lots of things to say and to share with others, and the people in our lives didn't want to hear what we had to say. So we thought, well, I'll just put it out there and see who wants to listen, right? And
Exactly.
right.
Yes.
So from your point of view, give the listeners a journey as to what's happened since you stepped out and said, this is what I want to talk about. And what has that done for your life? How does that open up things for you and new possibilities, created things that you maybe not thought were possible?
JJ, I don't know about you, but this podcast thing, it has changed everything. It's been a game changer. Like, I have expanded more fully into who I am and what my truth is and who I want to be in this world so much in the past couple of years of doing this, because of the doors that it's opened, the career opportunities it has led me to, the incredible people that I've gotten to meet, the people that you and I are both able to help heal on their journey. The possibilities are endless, and I'm excited to see even what more is to come.
So let's inspire people. Just we're going to go over a couple different areas, because I think Allison's story of empowerment and overcoming and utilizing and taking that energy, that emotional energy, and that period of time where you have to release things, and you have to mourn, and you have to grow, and you have to make sense of things, and you have to expand beyond it and see it from a different point of view, and listen to the messages it has for you in a couple different areas of life. So we know that from your mother's passing, you got very interested in health. And so that was a no-brainer. And then when your dad started to get sick, you wanted to interject him with some of that health stuff as well. Health stuff. I'm
Yeah.
in the health field too, but I'm just gonna say health stuff, whatever, all encompassing of all kinds of healthy behaviors and eating and habits and everything. So now you're starting your show with the intention to just share this information, and you're starting to build a community. So from there, what happened next in terms of your next level of growth and inspiration, and something that you before the show didn't know and didn't understand and didn't think possible that you now are doing in a business way?
I mean, so much. So cut me off if I don't stop talking. But, truly, overall, it's given me permission to expand, be myself, and share my message with those who want to listen. Just like you said earlier, both you and I started this because we wanted an outlet for our voices. And one of the biggest lessons that I learned when my father was passing away was that you cannot tell other people what to do. People are not going to change in most cases unless they want to. And with my dad, he had to sit me down. Here I am, I'm making him garlic shakes, and I'm like, this is going to cleanse your liver. And I'm like, here's an enema bag, and you're going to do this like twice a day. And I was crazy trying to give him a cleanse and all this stuff, because, we had spoken with a holistic health practitioner who had helped other people come back from stage 4 cancer. And I believed him, and I was on a mission. I was going to do this. And one of the hardest days of my life was when my dad sat me down and he said, I don't believe in this. And if I don't believe in it, it's not going to work for me. And so that has stayed with me for so long, JJ, because here I am now, a couple of years ago before I started the podcast, I'm telling everyone, hey, don't eat that because it has hormones, growth hormones, and this could cause, from acne to cancer, right? And so here I am, people sometimes see me as Debbie Downer, like, please don't tell me not to eat my grilled cheese sandwich. Okay, bitch, But long story short, started the podcast so I could speak to those who wanted to listen. And that's when everything changed, because people wanted to hear what I had to say. And I was like, oh. And so instead of me telling everyone I knew and being heartbroken and disappointed when they didn't want to hear it, and being heartbroken that I couldn't change the people in my life I wanted to change, right? Control type A. I realized that I could help those who wanted to be helped, and I could inspire people who were in that place ready to be inspired. And so that really set me on this journey, and that the opportunities business-wise that have opened up for me are crazy cool. I've been speaking on stages. I was on, I believe, 22 stages at events and conferences last year, and I had been on one the year before. And so that was a crazy speaking opportunity that just came as a result of the podcast and enabled me to tell my story and reach more people. And, I feel like I grew up, I was in the film business before all of this happened. Well, during when all of this was happening too. And for filmmaking, you had to start at the bottom. You had to be a PA and work your way up. For acting, you had to audition and have someone cast you and say, you're good enough. With podcasting, no one had to say, I'm good enough. I had to put my work out there, and the people came who were right for me and wanted to listen. So it's all about permission. Same with the speaking gigs. It's like I was creating my own speaking gigs through my own events, and that led me to being hired by other people and other events and conferences to speak. And it was because of the platform that I had built on the podcast, and because I had created other events where people could see that I was a speaker. And so you can create anything you want these days. If you want to be a filmmaker, you can make your own film on a freaking iPhone, okay? You can write your own scripts. You can create your own characters. So it's really about not having to get permission from the outside world that you're good enough to do things right now. You can do anything you want right now. And you can create a tribe of people who are on the journey with you. And the other opportunities that come up, I'm writing 2 books. One I got a book deal for. The other I may take to a publisher. I may self-publish. But if you want to write a book these days, you can self-publish. So it's like no one has to say that you are somebody anymore. You are somebody just by existing. And if you have a message to share to the world, there are people that need to hear that message. And some people think, well, I'm not as far along as I want to be yet, but you can help people on the journey who aren't as far along as you. So I'm not healed. I'm not 100%. I still make mistakes every day, but I can help people who may be going through grief or trauma because I've been there, right? And that's my mission, is to help people who want to be helped or are in a place to be inspired.
2 books. Okay, so I updated.
I'm over ambitious like you.
Yeah, so let me guess. So the first one got changed and turned on its head. So are we now writing both of them because you still want to write the one you originally went in with?
Yeah, I don't remember if I told you the story offline, but
so exactly. The Healing Kitchen originally, but then your work with your coach, Gabby Bernstein, decided that wasn't powerful enough as your first book for your story. So are you now focused on your story as the first book and the Healing Kitchen as the second book?
Exactly. And so the point of that was, it was like, okay, you can write a cookbook and a lot of people will love it, but you really got to get deep into your story, because that's what's going to help people relate to you and transform their own lives. It's like, JJ, when you read a good book and you're like, oh my gosh, I resonate with this so much. This is me. That's what I think that I'm meant to put out into the world first. And then I can do a cookbook after that. But right now I really need to focus on like the people that need help right now.
Good. I love it. And I agree and support it 100%. So we'll have you back on the show at least many more times to support each one of these books, because I still want I still want to have the Healing Kitchen, and I know I'm going to want your story. So she'll be back on many times. So love Allison, because she's not going anywhere. Okay. Next. So we have the speaking, we have the books. Now I also know you've got a mastermind program. You've got a trip coming up that you're taking people on. Why don't you tell us about those?
Sure. So another area that I fell into was coaching people to create podcasts and to market and monetize their podcasts. And the reason I fell into that was because when we started our podcast, I didn't just put it up and wait to see, will anybody listen? You know, you don't put up a YouTube video anymore and just wait for people to come. You have to have a marketing strategy behind it. And so I came up with a marketing strategy, which helped us get 100,000 downloads in the first 3 months. We were monetized by the second month. And in the first month, we were already sponsored. And so that was kind of unheard of. I didn't know anyone else who had had those results. And so I kind of fell into coaching people on how to create online businesses, specifically podcasts, but I help in other areas as well with Facebook ads and all this kind of stuff, YouTube, just creating a brand, becoming an influencer. And so out of that was born a mastermind program, which is coming up, and it's going to be so fun. And JJ is going to be there. I'm so excited. And that's really for wellness entrepreneurs who want to expand their business. I'm going to help you with a marketing plan. And it's really for people in this industry. If you want to sell cars, I'm not your girl. I don't know anything about that, but it's really for anyone who's in this health and wellness field. It could be meditation, yoga, it could be food and nutrition, it could be a brick and mortar business, or it could be becoming an online Instagram influencer. We're going to help you with that. It's myself, my co-host Susie Hardy, and Leslie Durso, who's a vegan influencer and chef.
So that is probably going to be sold out by the time you're all listening to this show. So in case you're interested, and I know you're going to be doing it again, or it could be waitlisted, where could they go to find out, in case anyone's listening that has a show or is thinking about having a show or wants to do more online stuff and is in the wellness field or wants to become in the wellness field? Where do they find out about this?
Absolutely. It's at www.foodhealsnation.com/mastermind. And you do have to type in the www in order to find it. Otherwise, you'll get an error page not found. So people can go there and learn more about it. And, I would love for people to come to the first one, but if it's sold out, we'll probably do one in about 6 months. And, JJ, the other part is that we didn't discuss is that day one is about masterminding your business. We're going to do hot seats, but day two, we're going to the plant-based event of the year, which is the Humane Society Gala. So we get all glammed up. Everyone's going to come over, and we're going to do hair and makeup are coming over. We're going to take a limo to this beautiful event, and it serves the most delicious food. There's always influencers and celebrities there to connect with, because a big part of growing your brand and your business is networking and meeting other people in your field and offering them something of value, whether it's an interview on your podcast or some sort of collaboration. And that's how you get sponsorships and all of this stuff. So day one is about masterminding your business. Day two is about networking. We're actually going to go out and network and wear hot dresses and high heels. So it's going to be so much fun.
Oh yeah, I bought 2 dresses, and one of them is for your event. So I have a brand new dress I haven't worn yet. So that's reserved for April 21st.
Yes, I cannot wait to see your dress. Send me a picture. I'm so excited.
So, okay, so then we have the speaking, and now you're writing 2 books, and you've got the mastermind. And then I know in business, you've even created an event that's something I haven't even done, where you're taking people all over the world. You're going to Italy. Tell us about that.
Yes, so this is so exciting. I can't wait. This is in June, and we're calling it, what are we calling it? The Vegan Italian Getaway. And so it's really a retreat. We're going to Italy. This is not a business trip. This is really for people who need a vacation and want to go with like-minded people in the health and wellness world. And you're going to learn, but we're also going to have so much fun. So there's going to be vegan cooking classes with Chef Leslie Durso, and she is this phenomenal chef who you eat her food and you're like, oh my gosh, like, where have you been all my life? And she's going to do cooking classes. We're going to be staying on the Amalfi Coast, which if you haven't been there, which I haven't, just Google it right now. And the pictures are breathtaking. So there's going to be a lot of good Instagram pics, but we're staying in a villa with a pool, a pool that is cliffside overlooking the Amalfi Coast. And I just picture myself drinking red wine right there. And it's just going to be so much fun. We're going to live podcast from there. So everyone that comes is going to get a shout out on the podcast, get to talk about your experience. We're doing wine tastings, olive oil tastings. We're going out to dinners, and we're going to explore. We're going on a boat ride, all kinds of stuff. So it's really a vacation with people in the wellness field, or people that just want to go on a wellness retreat.
And where can people find out about that?
Oh, thank you very much. That one is at www.foodhealsnation.com/Italy. And again, for all my links, because they're redirects, you have to use the www to find it.
So it's safe to say, well, maybe it's not. Correct me if I'm wrong, but is it safe to say that your pain, your trauma, then inspired a mission, and that mission and finding the right outlet, aka podcasting, has opened you up and opened your life up to such amazing opportunities and creative expression that I mean, could you have imagined, like, what did you think your life was going to be like before all this happened? That you'd be a filmmaker, you'd be making films, but did you ever think you'd be for business, taking people to Italy for a vacation?
I never could have envisioned this life, JJ, and you're absolutely safe to say that. You know, my trauma has informed my entire life. Who would I be without it? I don't know, but I've so expanded into a person that I like. And, you know, I probably would have been, I was in the film industry, I went to school for it and all that good stuff. I wanted to make narrative films, which I still love, but it's not my passion anymore. All I want to do is make wellness documentaries and videos and things like that in that world. And then all I want to do is inspire people and help them. I'm not a nutritionist though, so I can't sit down with you and say, oh, you need to take this probiotic. I really just want to inspire people to the possibilities that they can heal themselves and then provide them with those resources. And, you know, none of this would have happened if I hadn't had to go through some dark times. And so that's where I can find my gratitude. And that's so important, because what if I had just stayed in depression? And, you know, people that go through traumas often find themselves in toxic relationships, in toxic careers. Some people turn to drugs, some people turn to crime, and it's because of unresolved issues within ourselves. And so to find gratitude in trauma can be very, very difficult. And I get it, because I've been there. I've been to the dark places. And the fact that I was able to come out of it is what I want to inspire people, that they can come out of it too. Whatever we go through in life, it is the reason that we're alive. And that's hard to hear. It's even hard to say. But this is the reason that you're alive, so that your mission is to help people who have been through something that you've been through and inspire them that their life can be better.
Yes. Now, that leads me to a good point, because we've been talking about all the upsides and we haven't gone too dark and deep into the dark side, but I think let's figure out maybe, you know, whether you have, and I don't know what you did exactly. I know that it's an ongoing process, but can you help anyone who's in that dark place right now, give them some advice as how you got out of and moved forward and utilize and leverage that pain to progress your life forward? Like, what did you do from the beginning of feeling sad and depressed and like an orphan? Like, what tools or what helped you?
Absolutely. Well, the first thing that I personally discovered was the food and the nutrition. And so for me, I realized I had to completely change my diet, but this took time. And I did it over the course of years, discovering my food allergies and eliminating things that my body did not handle well. So for me, there are certain things, but it may be absolutely different for you. So if I tell you to cut out gluten, not everyone has a gluten intolerance. Many people do. Some people, you know, have celiac, but it's all about you. So people can get their food allergies tested, figure out what their body resonates with and what it doesn't. You can customize your diet that way. For me, I'm plant-based. That's the way that I thrive and feel the best. It's best for my blood type and it's best for my body. But it took me a long time of trial and error to discover that. Well, and then of course exercise, which I love exercising. I try to get outside as much as I can. But what happened was, JJ, is that I felt better. I felt a lot better, but I was missing the emotional, spiritual piece. And once I discovered that, that is when everything shifted. And that is when I didn't know about the 7 stages of grief. No one told me. I had no idea. And so as I slowly started to get into that world, first it was a book here and there, and then I was taking classes and going to events like yours, Release What Weighs Me Down. Things like that started to really change my life and my perspective. And so I went to grad school. I went to University of Santa Monica, and their program is called spiritual psychology. You get a master's in spiritual psychology, but let me tell you, all it is a master's in learning to love yourself. Okay. So all we do is exercises that therapists might do, but we go really, really deep into healing our past wounds, into deleting our misbeliefs and replacing them with new beliefs. And so some of the practices I learned there that have been absolutely like transformative on my journey is self-forgiveness. And so in this process, you're going to go back to a time when you felt X. So if you're feeling in your present day, I'm not good enough. If you're feeling in your present day, I'm not loved. whatever you're feeling in your present day, you're going to trace that back to the first time you felt that way, to childhood. This is like a way to heal the past. Healing the past will heal the present. You're going to go back to those moments and you're going to give that situation so much love. You can play music during this time. That's what I did at JJ's event. I just played music that I love, that inspires me and elicited a feeling of love out of me. You're going to give that situation so much love. And if you do this on a regular basis, you're going to start to heal the present, and you're going to start to feel all that love that you are missing. All the I'm not good enough is going to turn into I'm amazing in the present. And then you're going to forgive yourselves for the judgments that you made at the time, whether it was a judgment of a person. Dad didn't love me. Teacher said this. You judge them. We're going to let go of that and forgive them. Forgive, forgive, forgive. Forgiveness is the key to freedom. And then we're going to forgive ourselves for judging the world as bad, or as not loving us, or as being victims, as treating us bad, or giving us bad circumstances, right? Got to forgive the world. For me, I had to forgive the pharmaceutical companies because I was like, my mom was so drugged up that that's what killed her. That's what made her get cancer, because she had multiple sclerosis. So personally, I had to forgive my anger against the drug companies. And the last step is you forgive yourself. You forgive yourself for the judgments that you've held against yourself. And through this process, I have been able to heal a lot of childhood traumas, a lot of my adulthood traumas, and really embrace the present, love myself, have more self-confidence in myself, give myself the permission I was seeking from others. So for me, that process has been transformational. And there's so many more tools I can recommend, so many books that I love that I'm happy to recommend. You know, you tell me what you want to know.
Yeah, I was thinking, I have a book based on what you're just talking about that I want to recommend when we're done, but that I think would be very helpful for everybody as well, since you and I agree about the forgiveness. But what are some of the books that you use that you thought were most profound and had the biggest impact on your healing?
Oh, there's been so many. But one author that's been consistent throughout my journey and has now become my mentor because I've read all her books and I've become a student of hers is Gabby Bernstein. And I would say, depending on where you are in the healing, I would start back a few books. Spirit Junkie or Add More Ink to Your Life. Those are really, really good places to start. And most of her books have exercises at the end of each chapter to really help you take your healing to the next level. And then her most recent books that have been transformative to me have been The Universe Has Your Back, which is really just all about realizing that, like the title implies, the universe has your back. It's like you can co-create what you want with the universe. And as we forgive our past, we are able to expand even more into who we are and who we want to be and what we want to do in this world. And then the latest one is The Judgment Detox. And it's all about letting go of recognizing that we all are judging all of the time and letting go of the need to judge. And it's so freeing when you're like not gossiping with your friends at lunch, or when you're not looking people up and down and judging them anymore. And we all do it once in a while. We all judge situations in our lives. But if you recognize it, then you can actually be at peace with it. And when you move away from judgment, you move into a place of positivity where you can co-create with the universe again. So I would say she's my favorite resource that's been consistent throughout my life.
Nice. And the resource that I was thinking about that I think is very powerful for a lot of people is Radical Self-Forgiveness by Colin Tipping. It is a book and a CD. Have you ever had an experience with that book, Allison?
No, but just from the name, I'm like, where do I sign up? I'm on Amazon, like right now, getting it.
Radical Self-Forgiveness. Well, I'll be happy to send you one of the audio. There's a practice at the end of it that goes along with the CD when you buy the CD. And the CD isn't the book, but it goes along with the book. And I think that process at the end, it's a 13-minute process.
Mm-hmm.
And him reading it, because he's also from England, so he's British and he's got his accent, right? So it all feels very formal, but yet right. Like it's almost like the voice of God is telling you all these things and taking you through this practice. So I really found Radical Self-Forgiveness to be super powerful and kind of encompass everything we've talked about in that, and he puts it in a different way than how we've talked about it, but acknowledging your past and forgiving all the different stages of it, but not forgiving it, but also how to, like you said, be grateful and appreciate it and see how it was necessary. And he doesn't
Yes.
force you to do that, but he says, could you see, could you,
Mm.
expand your mind to the possibility that somebody had to do that to you, to be a healing angel for you. And it just gets you to be open. So I definitely would recommend anyone who's beating themselves up, besides all of Gabby's books that Allison just recommended, that Colin Tipping's Radical Self-Forgiveness. In fact, I wanted to add parts of it into Releasing Weighs You Down. But as you know, I ran out of a lot of time to do a lot of things. So which is why next year it's 4 days instead of 3, because,
Oh,
and
wow. Okay. Awesome.
yeah, and the next big step, which is happening in September, is also 4 days instead of 3, because I just need, and it's not full. It's like 2 real full days or 3 full days. It's not, but you just start late at night on Thursday and end in the afternoon on Sunday. But I needed more time. I have too
Yes.
many things that I think are important in life, transformational, that we did not get to do, and this is one of them. So definitely a recommendation for that. So I know we've given people a lot of stuff, and I want to just end with a couple other tips that you may have on the health. I know you mentioned the food sensitivities and the exercise and things like that, and getting your diet straight away to really find the best support system for yourself physically so that you feel optimal. Now, did you do that right away after your dad passed away? I mean, I know you were doing it after your mom passed away, but was there sort of depressive eating? I mean, did you have a dark moment of where you kind of went off a tangent for a while because you just felt so depressed that you didn't want to try?
Oh, hell yes. So this is I mean, if I have made this sound like it is flower and roses and butterflies and rainbows, it's not. I have been through dark times. I have been on the floor like, do I want to live anymore? I absolutely did not start this process right away. After my mom died, I was on antidepressants. They made me absolutely a crazy person with no empathy. They made me like a sociopath, and I never want to be that person again. It was temporary. It was only a few months, but they made me so unemotional that I didn't care about anything. So maybe I wasn't sad that my mom had died, but I also wasn't happy if a friend came over. I couldn't care. I didn't care. And that state of being is a place I never, ever want to get back to. So then when I was off of, I realized this was not sustainable, and I didn't want to take a pill every day. And, they're telling me, if you go through something like a death in the family, you're probably going to be on this pill for the rest of your life. And I'm thinking, I'm like 20, what? Or I was 22 or 23, I don't remember. But, I'm like, I'm young. I'm not going to be on this crap for the rest of my life. And I don't want to feel like this. So I get off the pill, and this is between my mother and father's deaths is when I started changing my diet. But the only thing I was really doing was eating organic, but I was still eating a lot of processed food, and slowly making that transition. And I didn't go fully plant-based for years after my dad died, so this is a slow process. I didn't discover the food allergies until well after my dad died either. This is a slow process of discovery. I didn't exercise as much as I do now. Again, slow process of discovery. And I didn't discover, I finally figured out for the most part, and we're still figuring it out every day. Don't get me wrong. If I have a new food that I introduce that's not working, I'll take it out and I'll see if that's causing me, some kind of problem. Sometimes I not fail. I don't want to call it a failure, but sometimes I eat something I know I shouldn't. So I try to enjoy myself instead of judge myself. But sometimes I'm in the Ben and Jerry's judging the shit out of myself. Like, look, we're all human, right? But it wasn't until I really discovered that emotional part that I really started to shift. And the emotional spiritual part, it's not like you do it and you're healed. Like, I graduated from that grad school program, JJ, and I was like, I got this. I'm healed. I'm better. Well, when I didn't continue the practices, guess what happened? I was back on the floor. Like, do I want to live? Am I okay? Like, do I want to be in this world? So I've had many dark times throughout this process, and it's just about the practice. It's just about making the choices every day that make me feel like $1,000,000 and make me feel happy, supported, light. Like, I used to feel so heavy. I would feel heavy in depression. I would feel heavy in my body weight. And that heaviness, I never want to go back to that place either. And so I have to continually keep myself light. But it's fun. I enjoy my practices. I'm so glad when I have to do a meditation and confront something. So when something's going on in my present life that's, feels bad, and maybe it makes me angry or it makes me want to cry, then I go into my meditation and I have it out with myself and I try to figure out what's really going on so I can get back to that peaceful place. So all of these things I do, it's ongoing. Healing happens on a regular basis. And I just feel like I'm on an upward trajectory for sure, but I still go down, and the pendulum swings. But, if you want some other practices, meditation has been huge. Writing and burn, huge. I write. Like, I'm mad because this person cut me off in traffic, but it turns out I'm mad because, someone said this to me in kindergarten. I didn't even realize that was a thing. I forgot about it. Right? But like, the guy's cutting me off in traffic, and I'm like, you a-hole. I'm like, okay, what are you really mad about? So that's a great practice: writing and burning, crying, letting it out, self-forgiveness, self-healing, inner child work, which I did at your event, tapping. I love me some tapping. So those are just some of the things I do ongoing.
And I look forward to hearing what happens after you have a session with Lisa, because then that's going to be a whole new conversation.
Oh, I love Lisa.
I know. And I know you're going to have her on your show. So I look forward to, on a personal note, because everybody here who's listened to most of the channels that I have heard Lisa Thomas's Clearing Inherited Emotional DNA and understands a little bit about some of that. So I'd be very interested to talk to you once that's over. Please let me know. And yes. I want to know your experience, because it's going to be epic and profound, I promise.
Oh, I can't wait. I'm so excited.
Okay, I brought Allison back on because one of the things that I think is important for us to see in other people is the growth and the expansion. At my event, we talk about these practices and letting things go and overcoming things and breaking through things and moving forward in your life and expanding. And there were a lot of people in that room who I've worked with for a long time, or people who've listened to my show for a long time. And I turned around and I asked everybody in the room, how many of you have watched me grow? And literally every hand went up. So I said, I don't ever show you something I haven't done already. I share with you what I've done and has worked for me, or practices that have worked for other people that I've either referred them to or that they've done on their own, but maybe I haven't. But I'm like that sponge like you are, to learn and learn and learn, and then share what's worked for me in effort to help other people have it work for them. So Allison's one of those examples, which is why I wanted to bring her back on, because there's been a shift in her since the last time we had this conversation in her business. And her podcast was going gangbusters, but she didn't have the Rise and Bloom mastermind weekend that she's doing. She didn't have the Italy wellness retreat that she's doing. She wasn't speaking 22 times a year. She was starting to write one book, and now she's got 2 books that she's published, right? So there's been growth and movement. And so I just want to inspire all of you who are listening that you can have that too. And just to reiterate one more time, in case you're interested in Allison's events, it is www.foodhealsnation.com/mastermind. Am I right?
Yes. Yes.
Or www.foodhealsnation.com/Italy.
Yes.
Okay. So if you want to spend more quality time with Allison and learn from her, come mastermind with me as well. I'll definitely be at the one in April, and who knows what's going to happen 6 months later, but it's definitely going to be an epic event where people are going to get some serious strategy and a plan to take whatever you're passionate about and make that into a business, because it's not just about the money. In fact, it's really never about the money. It's about the passion that attracts people to you, and then it keeps it exciting and fun and creative and opens your world up to possibilities that you didn't even know existed before. So I just want to share Allison with you again so that you understand that how she's been through it. Her show is Food Heals Podcast. Go subscribe, download, listen. She and Susie are great, very entertaining. I love them. I've been on 5 or 6 times.
Yes, and, you're a regular around here.
I'm a regular around. Absolutely. So Allison, thank you so much for spending the time with me today and being able to share your story again with everyone who listens.
Oh my gosh, thank you for having me. It's such an opportunity. I'm so excited, and I love your listeners. I loved everyone that you brought to the event. They were just such an incredible group of people.
Thank you.